Has there ever been a council within the Church that has contradicted established doctrine, such as the Second Vatican Council does on subjects of ecumenism, religious liberty, and collegiality? I'm familiar with the Pistoria synod and the so-called robber council, but are there other contradictions from council to council?
Well,
great question.
It is. First thing you have to say is, did Vatican II, in fact, deny church teaching? And you've also got to ask yourself, what was the standing of Vatican II as a council anyway? Well, we know several things about Vatican II. One is that John the 23rd declared when he opened it that he was not invoking infallibility upon it. We know that when Paul VI closed it, he declared that infallibility had not been invoked upon him. There were no anathemas.
That's true.
And then later, when it was pointed out to Paul VI that a lot of what was written there could be given an unorthodox reading, his response was that whenever there appeared to be that sort of a thing, it had to be read in accordance with earlier tradition. And if it seemed to contradict earlier tradition, it had to be disregarded. So, you can then get lost into the minutiae of whether or not you can reconcile this or that part of Vatican II with prior teaching, which is a whole other episode of minutiae. But you don't have to.
No?
No! There are no anathemas.
That's true.
Where Paul VI said, if it appears to disregard prior teaching, you can disregard it. All right?
That's easy.
Yeah.
Wow, that really makes things simple.
Doesn't it?
Gosh, I thought it was such a complicated mess before that.
It was, but now it's easy. No, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, people tend to twist themselves into knots. The very fact that this council did not invoke infallibility and did not have it conferred upon it by a later pope shows to you that it is not the big A-market thing you think it is. Wow. So, again, to quote Paul VI, if it seems to contradict prior teaching, then you can let it pass. Now, when Benedict became Pope, he addressed this issue in his Christmas message to the Curia. And there he said there had been indeed change from prior teaching, but only in areas which were themselves not infallible, because of a reason. Now, whether or not that's true, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because as far as he's concerned, if those things are contingent, and to change them is contingent, then the changes themselves are contingent.
I see. Wow.
So, I wouldn't worry about Vatican II.
This was great. I was going to go into the minutiae, into the weeds, and you just said, no, you don't need to do that.
No. Well, I mean, there's this Australian theologian, I think, John Lamont, made a very interesting point. He talked about the Society of St. Pius X in the Council. He says they accept at least 80% of the Council. It's only 10 to 20% they reject.
Yeah.
He says, but to me, the real story here is not that they reject that 20%, but that the 80% they agree with is not accepted by a large number of bishops and seminary directors.
Right.
That. So maybe when you can make bishops and seminary directors accept the 80%, we can talk about the rest of it.
Okay.
Huh?